Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is the third vlog that I am attempting. The two previous ones were climate change and its impact on cities, followed by the urban cycling. This one is about urban cooling. Now, urban heat negatively affects many aspects of life. Protection of populations from extreme heat is one of the key challenges that cities are facing. There are many causes of rapidly rising air temperatures in cities. For example, urbanization. Rapid growth of cities in physical size and population. And if this current trend continues, urban areas will increase in size by 80% over the next 10 years. Then effect of atmospheric greenhouse gases. Global average temperatures are increasing year after year and the cities are heating up at twice the global average. The loss of green spaces and trees. As you know, these provide important cooling benefits through a process called evapotranspiration and by providing shade. Green spaces are being built upon by heat absorbing and impervious roads, paved areas, and buildings. Then there are also flaws in urban design that impede natural wind flows that would have blown heat away from the city. Also, factors like urban population density, land use mix, orientation and positioning of buildings, they all influence urban heat intensities and affect movement of air through urban communities. Another important factor is waste heat. This includes active space cooling. For example, the use of air conditioning systems. While these are effective in cooling of inner spaces, these exhaust heat into the air and contribute to outdoor temperature increases. Then industrial processes add to the urban heat if these are located within or in the vicinity of cities. Vehicles are also a major source of urban heat. Extreme heat can cause asphalt roads to soften and melt, which leads to dangerous driving condition. Another major cause of urban heat is use of impermeable materials to construct buildings and paved areas. These surfaces absorb solar energy and transfer heat into buildings and heats communities and the city as a whole. As I said, the materials we use are impermeable to water and thus do not capture water that could be used for evaporative cooling. It's important to address these heat sources to keep the cities cooler. Urban heat can be addressed by adopting a number of measures. And here we are talking about passive, non mechanical cooling solutions. As I said in the beginning, urbanization is a major cause of urban heat. And so is wrong placement of industries and excessive use of private vehicles instead of public transport. Urbanization is inevitable, but can be slowed down by developing secondary cities, discouraging urban sprawl, and keeping the cities compact. At micro level, reflective surfaces for roofs, walls, and pavements that reflect rather than absorb heat radiation should be preferred. Also, more vegetation, including roadside plantation, more parks, urban forests, and green roofs, walls, and permeable or porous surfaces, increased thermal insulation, energy efficient cooling solutions, lesser polluting vehicles, and more public transportation and accessible water infrastructure. Also, in urban design, natural wind flows should be maximized to minimize trapped heat. Solar reflective roofs can reduce energy demand by between 10 to 40%. Trees that shade buildings and cool the air can also deliver energy savings. Unfortunately, these days there is a trend for ornamental trees which neither have shade and cooling effect, nor do they attract any biodiversity. Now, indigenous local species are always better. However, the net benefits of urban cooling solutions will depend upon climate, building location and orientation, altitude, shading, material use and availability, urban form, and other factors. Landscaping features such as spacing, orientation, and position of buildings can also help in reducing excessive urban heat. These factors influence urban heat intensities by affecting how much sunlight is absorbed by urban surfaces, how effectively wind moves through urban communities, and how efficiently buildings and pavements shed heat. Rigid urban layout patterns also impede wind flow, and so a slight disorder in urban layout is desirable. Buildings that do not impede wind flow should be promoted. Urban wind flow can be improved by aligning building blocks with the prevailing wind, connecting open spaces, and placing these open spaces near the water bodies. Rising urban heat presents a wide variety of challenges to a broad set of public and private stakeholders in cities. As such, there is a need for multi-stakeholder process to consider and adopt an integrated, comprehensive set of policy solutions. Heat has effects across a broad spectrum of urban life that involves wide range of public and private stakeholders. These groups should be engaged and brought into the process of designing and implementing urban cooling policies to ensure that these efforts are effective and long lasting. There is a need to develop a framework which seeks to identify existing activities and policies that support or hinder progress towards urban cooling. Identification of data is also important that may be needed to make informed decisions, and engagement of all relevant stakeholders and evaluation of policy options. With a clear understanding of the effects of existing local policies on urban cooling, understanding of local conditions, and key stakeholders engaged, cities will be in a better position to consider what specific actions to take and policies to adopt. To be most effective, cities should consider an integrated set of urban cooling strategies. There is no one size fits all approach to cooling cities. Cities must evaluate the individual and combined benefits of particular strategies and potential negative consequences. I thank you.